Right now, as you watch this video, there's a 25-year-old man sitting alone in his apartment. He has a good job. He's in decent shape. On paper, he's doing fine. But here's what nobody knows. 1 in 4 men under 35 in America report feeling lonely every single day. And it's destroying them from the inside out. This isn't about dating advice. This isn't about self-improvement tips. This is about a crisis that's killing men faster than almost anything else, and nobody's talking about it. Welcome to Rare Psyche, where we uncover the psychology no one talks about. Today, we're diving into one of the most important but overlooked mental health crises of our time. Why single men are suffering in silence, and why the data is far more shocking than you realize. If you're a man watching this, you're not alone. If you're watching this to understand a man in your life, a brother, son, friend, or partner, what you're about to learn could save his life. Let's get into it. Let me start with the numbers because they tell a story that most people don't want to hear. 15% of men say they have no close friends. That's a 12% increase since 1990. Think about that. In just 3 decades, we've seen an explosion in male loneliness that's unprecedented in modern history. But it gets darker. 40% of men report feeling lonely at least once a week, and single men are 3 times more likely to report loneliness than married men. And here's where it becomes genuinely frightening. In the United States, 25% of men under age 35 feel lonely every single day. That's significantly higher than young women at 18%. America's young men are among the loneliest in the entire developed world. Only 27% of men have 6 close friends today, down from 55% in 1995. We've cut our social networks in half in 1 generation. The consequences? Men die by suicide at approximately 4 times the rate of women, making up nearly 80% of all suicides, despite being only half the population. That's roughly 100 men dying by suicide every single day in America alone. Loneliness isn't just an emotional problem. It increases your risk of early death as much as smoking 15 cigarettes per day. It's not melodrama, it's biology. So the question isn't whether men are suffering. The question is, why is this happening now? And why are men affected so differently? Here's what the research reveals. Men and women might appear similar on surface-level loneliness measures, but men are more likely to report specific feelings of disconnection, not belonging to any group, feeling their place in the world isn't relevant. Let me break down why men are uniquely vulnerable. First, how men build friendships. Women engage friends and family more often through direct communication, while men typically engage through group activities. Men don't usually text each other, "How are you feeling?" We bond by doing things together: sports, gaming, working on projects, going out. But here's the problem. Modern life has systematically destroyed these spaces. Fewer men participate in organized sports after college. Bowling leagues, men's clubs, community organizations, all declining. Remote work means no office camaraderie. We've removed the scaffolding that male friendships were built on. Second, the relationship dependency. Here's an uncomfortable truth that the data makes clear. Men experience greater mental and physical health benefits from being in a relationship, are less likely to initiate breakups, and struggle more with the emotional toll of a breakup. 6 in 10 men under 30 are currently single, nearly double the rate of women. And here's why that's devastating. Many men have put all their emotional eggs in one basket. Their romantic partner becomes their therapist, their best friend, their only source of emotional intimacy. When that relationship ends, or when they can't find one, they don't just lose a girlfriend. They lose their entire emotional support system. Third, the masculinity trap. Only 30% of men said they had a private conversation with a friend sharing their feelings in the past week. We're taught from childhood that expressing vulnerability is weakness, that real men don't need help, that struggling means you're failing. So when a man feels lonely, isolated, or depressed, he doesn't reach out, he doubles down. He tells himself he needs to man up. He suffers in silence because admitting the problem feels like admitting defeat. 62% of men feel they cannot share their feelings with friends. 2 out of 3 men have friends but feel like they can't truly open up to them. That's not friendship, that's just proximity. Now, let's talk about what this loneliness actually does to men's bodies and minds. because this is where it gets genuinely scary. Mental health collapse. 40% of men surveyed met the screening standards for depressive symptoms, while 44% had experienced suicidal ideation within the last 2 weeks. Read that again. Nearly half of men surveyed had thought about ending their lives in the past 14 days. People who are lonely are more than twice as likely to experience depression, and loneliness increases the risk of depression by 50% and anxiety disorders by 26% in men specifically. Physical health deterioration. Loneliness and social isolation can increase the risk of developing cardiovascular disease by nearly 1/3. It increases risks of stroke, heart disease, diabetes, cognitive decline, and premature death. Loneliness lands in the same category as smoking and obesity when it comes to increased risk of death in men. Your body literally doesn't know the difference between social isolation and physical poison. The suicide crisis. The suicide rate among males is approximately 4 times higher than females, and men aged 75 and older have suicide rates more than 16 times higher than women in the same age group. Why? Only 35% of men sought care from a mental health practitioner in the year before suicide. Men don't ask for help until it's too late, or they never ask at all. Here's the most chilling statistic. Loneliness causes an estimated 100 deaths every hour globally, more than 871,000 deaths annually. That's a death every 43 seconds. This isn't a mental health problem, it's a public health catastrophe. You might be thinking, but loneliness has always existed. Why is it so much worse now? Because modern life has created the perfect storm for male isolation. The dating app paradox. We have more ways to connect than ever before, but in-person social interaction among teens has dropped by 70% in 2 decades. Dating apps promise unlimited options, but deliver endless rejection for most men. Roughly 1 in 5 men are either not looking for a relationship or are unable to find sexual partners. Men swipe thousands of times for a handful of matches. They message dozens of women and get maybe 1 response. The constant rejection isn't just disappointing, it's psychologically damaging. It reinforces the belief that they're not good enough, not attractive enough, not worthy of connection. The social media illusion. Every man scrolling social media sees curated highlight reels, friends who seem happier, couples who seem perfect, lives that seem more exciting. It creates the illusion that everyone else has it figured out while you're the only one struggling. But here's the truth. A majority of men ranging from older millennials to Gen Z agree with the statement, "No one really knows me well," with Gen Z having the highest percentage of agreement. Everyone's lonely, everyone's struggling, but everyone's also pretending they're not. The work-from-home trap. Remote work eliminated one of the last remaining spaces for men to build casual friendships. No more grabbing lunch with colleagues. No more after-work drinks. No more water cooler conversations. You wake up alone. You work alone in your apartment. You eat alone. You go to bed alone. Days blur into weeks. Weeks into months. And you realize you haven't had a meaningful conversation with another human being in weeks. The ambition sacrifice. Ambitious men, those who sacrifice everything to create a better future, often find themselves unable to meet the instant gratification culture that modern dating expects. You spend your 20s building your career, your skills, your financial stability. You're told this is what you're supposed to do. Then you look up at 30 and realize you have no friends, no romantic prospects, and no idea how to fix it. You did everything right and ended up isolated anyway. But here's what makes the male loneliness epidemic uniquely tragic: the silence. 25% of men say they lack close friends, and men are less likely to seek help for loneliness than women. We don't talk about it. We don't reach out. We convince ourselves it's not that bad. A man can be drowning emotionally, and no one around him has any idea. He shows up to work every day. He hits the gym. He answers texts with, "I'm good." And internally, he's barely hanging on. There's this expectation that men should be self-sufficient, that we should figure things out on our own, that needing emotional support is somehow weak or pathetic. So we don't burden anyone. We don't complain. We just endure until we can't anymore. The tragedy is that men, overall, are more likely to report specific feelings of disconnection, such as not belonging to any group or community or feeling their place in the world is not relevant. But they're less likely to tell anyone about it. Depression in men doesn't always look like sadness. It looks like irritability, anger, restlessness, reckless behavior, substance abuse. It looks like someone who's fine on the outside while dying on the inside. And by the time anyone realizes something's wrong, it's often too late. If you're a man watching this and recognizing yourself in these statistics, I need you to hear this. Your loneliness is not a personal failure. It's not because you're broken or inadequate or unlovable. You're experiencing the symptoms of a society that has systematically dismantled the infrastructure that men need to thrive emotionally. Here's what actually helps, according to the research. Normalize male vulnerability. Men overall are more likely to report specific feelings of disconnection, but they don't have to suffer with those feelings alone. Talk to your friends, real talk, not surface-level banter. You'll be shocked how many of them are feeling the same way. Rebuild social infrastructure. Join a recreational sports league. Find a hobby group. Volunteer. Go to a church, temple, or community center. Show up to the same place regularly until faces become familiar. Men engage in group activities more than one-on-one conversations, so find your group. Invest in friendship. Men might not see their friends as frequently as women, but knowing they're there is important. Text that friend you haven't talked to in months. Suggest grabbing food. Make the effort even when it feels awkward. Seek professional help. Therapy isn't a last resort, it's preventative maintenance. Only 35% of men sought care from a mental health practitioner in the year before suicide. Don't wait until you're in crisis. Get help when you're struggling, not when you're drowning. Redefine strength. Real strength isn't suffering in silence. Real strength is admitting when you need help. Real strength is being vulnerable enough to say, "I'm not okay," and brave enough to ask for support. And to everyone watching this who isn't a man, check in on the men in your life. Not just, "How are you?" Really check in. Ask specific questions. Create space for honest answers. Notice when someone's isolating. Reach out even when they say they're fine. Social connection can protect health across the lifespan, reduce inflammation, lower the risk of serious health problems, foster mental health, and prevent early death. Connection isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. The male loneliness epidemic is real, it's severe, and it's killing people. But it doesn't have to be this way. 1 in 6 people worldwide is affected by loneliness, but we can change this. Every conversation started, every friendship rebuilt, every moment of genuine connection is fighting back against this crisis. If you're struggling, please reach out to someone. If you're not struggling, reach out anyway to check on someone who might be. The data is shocking, but you don't have to become a statistic. Drop a comment below if this resonated with you. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want more psychology content that explores what others won't, subscribe to Rare Psyche. You're not alone in feeling alone, and that's the first step toward connection.